the opportunity, just so you know, in real estate terms, the big issue here, and especially from a realtor's perspective, is that we've got a supply and demand issue. Okay, we have this newfound demand for downtown living or living in town centers in the suburbs even, okay, and yet our supply is way, way, way under that demand. At the same time, we have this huge supply of what we've been building for a long time, and the demand is going down for that. And so we're starting to see the shift. We're just now starting to see the shift.
And it's not affordable.
Okay, so let's talk about, this is the first shift in 60 years. This is first shift in 60 years. Why is it happening now, and why did it happen 60 years ago? Well, it happened 60 years ago is we created the suburbs, essentially. And why would people want to live in the suburbs? Well, because it was so much better. You could have your yard. You could have privacy. You could be in a more safe place. You had school issues. You had new roads that made it easy to get back and forth. Okay? And then the other thing is finance. Why did the United States develop differently than Canada? Y'all know? You know, everybody talks about the GI Bill is what really paved the way for the suburban migration. Well, in Canada, they didn't. They allowed you to get the loan whether it was for a new house or for refurbishing a house. In the United States, we said, no, you can't use any money to refurbish any homes. You've got to buy a new house in a new subdivision. And so finance, you know, form of development always follows finance. It's sort of interesting to hear Byron talk about how you're able to sell some condos, because this is one of the only cities in the United States that's selling condos right now because of the financing. You guys know, realtors know, you can't finance them because you have new condos typically unless you get all cash buy. And that has to do with the underwriting criteria that changed after the bubble. So that would change back again, but finance is a huge issue. This is really important too. Essentially, the suburban areas that everybody migrated to provided an extraordinarily high quality of life. I experienced it as a kid. If I go back in my neighborhood where I grew up, the quality of life isn't as good as it was back then because the traffic has become so much worse. Okay, and that's so the nature of and the quality of the suburb isn't as high as it used to be because it's harder to get around once everybody else moved out there. So that's going to be another factor that's causing the perfect storm.